Today we gather to stand against corruption, against the invasion of the education system by corporate interests. Okay. Is it a microphone? Oh. All right. I'm going to start over because I guess that was quiet. Today we gather to stand against corruption, against the invasion of the education system by corporate interests. And our colleagues across the country stand with us because the hijacking of the university by those who would seek to use us to their own ends is unacceptable. The university is a place of free thought and learning, but that is being compromised. In 2008, the Koch Foundation agreed to donate $1.6 million in exchange for some influence over faculty and graduate student hires and curriculum control. But a donation that stipulates such requirements is not a donation at all. It is at best a business transaction, although I've also heard it called a bribe, and I think that rings true as well. And we are not the only campus on which the Koch brothers have encroached. In fact, over 400, about close to 400 schools have received money from them for various types of exchanges. It is a sad day when we need to be reminded that universities should not be bought and sold by those with the means to do so. The university must remain a space where students can learn to think for themselves and where academics can conduct their research and instruction without being told what they are supposed to find or how to twist those findings to benefit the body doing the funding. Undoubtedly, free thinking does threaten the power and influence of corporate bodies. That is precisely why they are working so hard to take over university operations. But we have had enough. We do not accept these nationwide violations of academic freedom, and we will keep speaking until we are heard. At FSU, we suffer not only from corrupt contracts, but now we face the installation of a president that was handpicked by corporate agendas. The presidential selection has been illegitimate since the beginning. You've probably heard it before, but I'm going to give you another quick recap. On May 21st, FSU's PSAC, that's the Presidential Search Advisory Committee, passed a motion to fast-track Senator John Thrasher as the sole candidate for consideration without so much as an application. Students responded by calling for a restructured Presidential Search Advisory Committee, one in which 1/3 of the members would be represented by students, another third by faculty, and another third by members of the community. This solution was wholeheartedly rejected by the PSAC, and despite bringing several well-qualified candidates to campus for interviews, one candidate who actually has experience lobbying for university within the Florida legislature, yes, I am talking about Michael Martin, not John Thrasher. The Board of Trustees, the majority of whom are personal friends with John Thrasher, selected him anyway. They ignored the reactions of faculty, students, and staff to the final 4 candidates. They ignored the Faculty Senate resolution and the Congress of Graduate Students resolution to not choose him. They ignored the university that they are supposed to be protecting. Today is November 3rd, and we have reached the juncture at which there is only one more block to the corporate takeover of the university from the top, and that lies with the decision of the Board of Governors that will be made on November 6th. So now I speak directly to the Board of Governors, and my message is this: say no to the appointment of John Thrasher as FSU's president. He was chosen by the Board of Trustees through an illegitimate selection process, and for no supportable reason. The primary reason the BOT gave for choosing him was his ability to garner funding from the legislature. But as a legislator in the Florida Senate right now, he will be barred from lobbying for funding for the next 2 years. And that funding that he is fighting for is finite. It's not going to magically grow bigger once he's again able to lobby without risking ethics violations. Remember, he has 2 of those as well. In addition, his lack of academic credentials will most certainly be reflected poorly in national rankings. About 1/4 of a university's rankings depend upon how they are perceived by academics at other universities. And having a president who has no experience in research, teaching, or university administration will be a major hurdle for us in achieving our goal of entering the top 25. And if the future ramifications of a Thrasher presidency are not enough to stay our hand, then understand that his illegitimate selection has already hurt us by angering alumni, whose donations account for 25% of FSU's funding. In fact, the call center had to temporarily cut down its hours of operation since so many angry alumni were refusing to donate. The only parties who support a Thrasher presidency are corporate and partisan interests. It's obvious, and it's part of the reason why campuses all around the country, 27 campuses all around the country, are standing with FSU against corruption today. We are united, and we are no longer going to sit quietly while the education system is sold off piece by piece to the highest bidder. We are watching and waiting, and your decision will reverberate across the nation. Make no mistake, 82% of the current Board of Governors has been appointed by Rick Scott. Remember, Rick Scott also named John Thrasher as the chair for the committee to re-elect himself as governor, so it's not totally impartial, right? 82% of the current Board of Governors has been appointed by Rick Scott. And those of you who were selected by Scott certainly know which way you are expected to vote. But that doesn't mean you don't still have a choice. You don't have to cooperate with a broken system. Your options are these. You can either bend to the whims of the corrupt and agree to compromise the academic integrity of FSU by accepting John Thrasher as the new university president, or you can refuse to be a part of the problem and say no to him. You cannot hope to hide your decision behind the walls at FAU this coming Thursday. Whether or not you want it, you have our attention, and we will remember you, each and every one of you, for what you do this week. I implore you to be remembered for doing the honorable thing. Thank you.